is Friday Night Fanstand.
1370's Friday Night Fanstand, the tailgate edition, heading into week one. Kasey John sitting alongside Chris Sanchez, both Coach Long out this week, as well as our own Jonathan Daniel, welcoming a new member to the Fanstand family, the birth of his son earlier this week. So we wish him and his family all the best. In the meantime, we've got the tailgate to do, and Chris, we're down to week one here. Season started.
Yeah, we've lost a couple of teams out of the Big Ten, but we've added a few as well.
Yes, indeed. Let's get to that Big Ten. The top three, or the bottom of the Big Ten. Coming in at number 10, the Wimberley Texans. Number 9, the Connolly Cougars. And number 8, the Hendrickson Hawks.
Yeah, Casey, all of these are new members to the Big Ten. Wimberley coming off the big win over Cuero. Really like what Brady Lambert and the guys did down there against the Gobblers. Connolly Cougars, huge game last week. Dejon Williams and Dave Payton both had big breakout games. Both juniors. Connolly has a great future to look forward to. And the Hendrickson Hawks, obviously coming off the 28-26 win over the Vista Ridge Rangers. Hendrickson's got a big game we're going to talk about with Lake Travis a little bit later on.
Moving on in the Fanstand Big Ten, number 7, the Anderson Trojans. Number 6, the Hutto Hippos. Number 5, the Bowie Bulldogs. And number 4, the Cedar Park Timberwolves.
Yeah, Cedar Park, we'll start there. They did lose to Westwood last week. Lost a little bit of footing in the Big Ten. But we feel here at the Fanstand that they're still a very good team and belong in the top 5. Going up to Bowie at number 5, they've got a big game against with the Westwood Warriors. They had struggled last week with the Pflugerville Panthers. Blaine Krumke and Adrian Dilworth gave them some trouble, but really like what Bowie's doing over there. Hutto, Anderson, they just both moved up. Hutto moved from number 10 spot all the way down to number 6. Anderson moved from 9 down to 7. The Anderson Trojans have a date this week with the Hayes Rebels. Blake Felt and Caleb Kimbrough, the quarterback, are going to be giving the Anderson Trojans all that they can handle this week. And Hutto Hippos are going to have a date with the Waco University Trojans. I expect Hutto to take this game as well.
And speaking of Westwood, moving on to the top 3. Number 3, the Westwood Warriors. Number 2, Stony Point. Number 1, Lake Travis Cavaliers. The drive for 5 is alive.
Absolutely, Casey. And number 3, Westwood Warriors. We talked about their date with Bowie, or we're going to talk about it here in a few seconds. But they had a big game last week. It was huge for them to win at home versus Cedar Park. A rivalry game. Really liked what Ben Johnson did. Des Wyatt, Ladines Anderson did great last week. Huge game for them. Stony Point, little trouble with UNL, but we still like what the Tigers are doing. Christian Ahrens had a good game with his new team. Not the new team, but the new quarterback with the team. He had a great game for them. Lake Travis, of course, 35-7, big over Westlake. Baker Mayfield coming in for Colin Lagasse once he got hurt. Baker showed what he could do, Casey. We talked with Baker Mayfield over the summer. We saw him play 7-on-7. And, myself, Jonathan Daniel, Paul Rodriguez, we were all very impressed with what Baker Mayfield had to offer. And, frankly, I expected him to play this season, not so early in the season. But Coach Carter's got to be ecstatic with what he saw from Baker Mayfield on Saturday.
And Mayfield, one of the winners of our Week 0 Put the Team on Your Back Award, which you can find online, FridayNightFanstand.com. 3 teams that didn't make it in the Big Ten this week that dropped out from Week 0, Vista Ridge, Leander, and Westlake. Chris, what's the reasoning there?
Well, Leander and Westlake, obviously big losses. Leander to DeSoto, Westlake to Lake Travis. Vista Ridge lost by 2 points to Hendrickson, but we did want to include some other teams in there, so Vista Ridge just lost out. I would say Vista Ridge is number 10.5 in the Big Ten.
If only we could keep extending it past 10. Of course, Westlake has a big test against Abilene Cooper this week. We'll get to that in just a second. The Fanstand Tailgate, our games of the week now. Let's go district by district. 15-5A, our pick this week is Bowie at Westwood.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Will Hopkins and the D-line does against Westwood. They're going to have to pressure Ben Johnson, have to get him out of the pocket. But Robbie Dickey and Nigel McLeod, Raylon Mays on the other side of the ball are going to have to score against this pretty good Westwood defense. So I'm really excited about that game.
And, of course, our second pick, like I just mentioned, for 15-5A, Westlake, their home opener with Abilene Cooper. The Cougars coming to town. Should be a good one right across the street here at Chaparral Stadium. So moving on to 16-5A, Waco Midway making the drive down I-35, coming to see McNeil. This should be a good one, Chris.
Yeah, I think Zach Kuhn really showed last week what he could do. He had a 70-yard run, 60-yard pass. I think him taking over at quarterback is huge for the McNeil offense. Now, Midway is going to be a big test with Jordan Darling and the guys coming down from Waco. So we'll really see what McNeil has to offer for those teams in 16-5A in this matchup with the Midway Panthers.
And that one being a Thursday night tilt, so we'll have complete coverage of that Friday night on the Fan Stand. Moving on, 16-4A, Hendrickson at Lake Travis. The Cavaliers, big coming off of their huge win at DKR against Westlake. Could they trip up against Hendrickson?
I really don't think so. I do like what Hendrickson has to offer. DeJay Johnson obviously had a huge game last week, 244 yards, several touchdowns. But Lake Travis they're Lake Travis. I mean, like we talked about when we started this, the drive for 5 that's going to be used over and over again during the season. So I like Lake Travis in this game, although I do think it's going to be a close one, a lot closer than people might expect.
And another game we'll be watching in 16-4A, Rouse at Bryan Rudder. We'll have complete coverage of both of those. Moving on, 25-4A, Wimberley at Dripping Springs, the Battle of Ranch Road 12. Wimberley 3A, Dripping Springs 4A. This is always a big one.
Yeah, Dripping Springs is going from beating a Crockett team that's a 5A team last week, 24-0, to playing a 3A team this week. I'm not sure the talent level is going to be any different, but I tell you what, it's going to be a huge rivalry game. I really like this Wimberley Dripping Springs. It's my favorite game of the week.
And of course, we'll have KDRP's Clint Shields and Wimberley quarterback Brady Lambert both on postgame to talk about what happens. Moving on, 26-4A, Manor at LBJ. Tough losses for both teams last week, but this should be a good one as well.
Yeah, Manor lost in overtime to Lampasas, and LBJ, they lost to a very good Hutto team. They were actually leading in the first half of that game. I think LBJ is one of those sneaky teams this year. I really like them to do well in 26-4A.
Moving on, previewing Friday night, Coach Long out of town taking care of some family business, so we did the next best thing, found somebody to fill in. Former Cedar Park head coach Mark Weaver joining the Fan Stand. He'll be in. Coach's Corner this week, Georgetown head coach Jason Dean and Rouse head coach Joshua Mann, their first varsity win in school history. Coach Mann definitely excited for what the season holds for his Rouse team. We'll have that, Coach's Corner on Friday night, plus live coverage, Wimberley at Dripping Springs, Georgetown at Temple, Bowie at Westwood, Bastrop at Seguin, and Vandegrift at Taylor. All the coverage you could want. High School Cube powered by KMAX Sports and our friends at KDRP in Dripping Springs. Coverage of Central Texas high school football like no one else. For Chris Sanchez, I'm Kasey Johns. Friday Night Fan Stand, Talk 1370.